This lesson, we're going to start writing some of our HTML code. So in order to add that in, we need to conceptualize our website. And essentially the website is going to be fairly straightforward because it's going to be a one-page website. So all of it is going to be just sectioned off, and we've got to have some links that are going to allow us to scroll to the different sections. We're going to add a navigation bar to stay at the top, and that's going to give the user to the website the ability to scroll to the different sections of content that's going to be presented within this web page. So that's the first thing that we need, and every good website needs a navigation bar. So this is the best starting point for creating a website. Is we're going to start with a nav, and we're going to give it an ID. So we're just going to call it my nav or something. We could actually call it main nav, so something that's more meaningful. So this is going to be my main navigation bar. I'm going to start adding in some Bootstrap classes. So we need to do Navbar. So Navbar is the class to indicate that this is going to be a Bootstrap navigation bar. And what I'm going to do right now, I'm just going to close off that nav, and we're going to add the rest of the nav content here. So another nav class. So we've got our Navbar. And if we want our navbar to go fully across, then we need to specify that as a class within Bootstrap. So it's navbar and dash full. So that's going to give us a navbar that's full across the entire page. And we're going to also add in the fixed options later on as we progress through this lesson. So for now, we need to add in some items that we want to use as a list. So we're going to create an unordered list here, and this unordered list needs to have a Bootstrap class. That class that we're going to be using is going to be nav, because we want this to be a nav so that Bootstrap understands that this is a navigation within the nav bar, and that's where we specify navbar nav, because nav and navbar, they're two separate types of elements within Bootstrap. So that's where we need to specify nav. So nav is just, it's a navigation item within Bootstrap or navigation component, and then navbar specifies that this is an entire navigation. One of the things that's different in Bootstrap 4 from Bootstrap 3 is the way that we treat our nav items within the nav class within Bootstrap. And so typically within Bootstrap 3 we could get away with just doing the list items, but we need to be more specific now within Bootstrap 4. So this is one of the main changes to note, especially when it comes to navigation bars, that there is this change, and we do need to specify the class nav item. So this helps Bootstrap differentiate that these are actually items within the navigation bar, and then it knows how to treat these accordingly when we add that class in. And every navigation item here, we need to add in also another class within the hyperlinks. And of course, it doesn't matter which tag we're using, so this could just as easily be any other type of tag, so that we could have that same functionality. So whenever we add that class in here, then Bootstrap essentially knows how to list these accordingly to the class that we've specified. And we want these to be acting as navigation links, so we're going to specify them as a navigation link. And then over here within the href, this is a single page website, and we're going to be linking to sections within our web page. So we need to just specify the ID name of the section. So we're doing an href. We're going to first maybe link out to an About Me section. So that first link is going to be About. And now we can just copy these over and duplicate them essentially out. So let's do another one. We've got one now for About, and let's do something like products and specify within the link products. So there's not any difference here between how we're laying out these list items. Also, typically you might have a contact area, so we'll just do contact as well. So these are going to be referring to sections that we're going to be creating later on within the course. So let's save that and take a quick look and a quick peek to see what this looks like. So essentially we do have something that's starting to look like a navigation bar, but we still need to make some additional updates to it. So within Bootstrap, So I'm just going to go over to the main Bootstrap website under components, and this is where we have our navbar. We can take a quick look and see what it's going to look like. So we've got a number of options of how we can make it look. We can do a navbar light, we can do a background faded. So another new thing with Bootstrap 4 is that we've got the switch over to set the background color. So we've got navbar full, but maybe let's set that navbar light and navbar faded, because we do need to set up some kind of background coloring scheme for that particular navigation bar. So there we go. So now we've got coloring in the background, and we can also specify with Bootstrap 3 or Bootstrap 4, so instead of background faded, because background faded is a class, so it's a pre-designed class of colors that we can utilize within Bootstrap. The navbar light is what switches the text content. So if our background is going to be, if our background is light, then we do navbar light. If our background is dark, then we do navbar dark. So I'll just show you what the difference is here. So if I do something like navbar dark, take a look at what happens with the fonts. We can't see them because it's expecting a dark background as opposed to our light background. So just going down here, there's a number of options. So typically we can use any one of these color schemes. So we can do background inverse, background primary. So notice as well, this is also added new because we've got these specific colors, and this is what Bootstrap understands to colorize the backgrounds. And we can also set a style. We can specify a color as well. So I like to usually do that up here within the styling. If, for instance, I did want to create a specific navigation bar color, I can do something like this, and I can set that background color. So remember, now it's expecting that our navbar is going to be a dark color. So let's pick a dark color for our navigation bar. Maybe we'll just stick with black. And of course we can adjust that as we need to. So now when I refresh it, we've got a black background, we've got lighter text, lighter color of the fonts on our background, and we're ready to go to continue to build out our web navigation bar. So some of the things that we do need from this navigation bar is, because it's going to be a single page website, we want to be able to scroll down, but we want it persistent at the top. And Bootstrap gives us one class to do all of this, to hold it at the top. So we've got this ability here to do fixed top. So we can do navbar fixed top, and I'll show you what happens. And of course I still need to add in some content. So maybe let's do that as well. We'll add in a bunch of dummy content here, and that's what I'm going to be using this one for, to add in that dummy content. Select all. We're going to paste that in just underneath the navigation bar. Copy to clipboard, so I forgot to press that one. Let's paste that content, save it, go back out to our web page, and I'll show you what we mean by we want it persistent. So I have to zoom it in a little bit more, and see, now that we've got it fixed, we see that this navigation bar stays at the top. So that's exactly what we want from our navigation bar, and this is going to allow the user to come into our web page, click the link, scroll the page down to where they want to go, but it's going to keep that navigation persistent at the top, fixed at the top, giving them access to the navigation bar and to be able to go to the other sections of the page really easily by having this at the top. So the next lesson, I'm going to show you more how we can customize this a little bit, and then we're going to start adding in those sections that we can scroll down to and start adding in and formatting our content so it looks more like a website. So that's coming up in the next set of lessons.